Good afternoon. Welcome to the new President Vice-Chancellor Forum. I'm the President of HKUSU, David Wong. And today we are much honored to have our new President and Vice-Chancellor, Professor Xiang Zhang, today here with us. Moreover, we have a few more guests today with us. And please allow me to introduce them one by one. First, we have our Provost and Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Professor Paul Tan. And we have our Vice President and PVC, Professor John Cao, Global. Next, we have our Vice President and Vice-Chancellor, Teaching and Learning, Professor Ian Holliday. And also here with us today, our Registrar, Mr. Henry Wai. And our Director of Finance, Ms. Sarah Lowe. Last but not least, who take care of much of our campus life affairs, Dean of Student Affairs, Dr. Eugenie Leung. Today's forum will aim to focus on interaction between students and also our new president. So, first, maybe let me start off with a few questions and we'll try to open to the floor to have more interaction and questions from students. So, HKUs, please feel free to ask as many questions as possible. You are very much honored to also, and we are pleased to receive your questions today. First of all, I think it is a heated topic and also causes kind of controversies in today's society, Professor Zhang, about the freedom of speech and also academic autonomy in, especially the University of Hong Kong in today's society. Well, as the president and also as the new president and vice-chancellor, what means to you an ideal environment with such freedom? What is your vision, ideal vision regarding such freedom happening in the university? And furthermore, I think students would be more concerned is that how would you safeguard the freedom of speech in our campus?
Well, first of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the student unit leaders and also the students take the time out today around noontime, lunchtime. And it's a great honor to be here to interact with the students, to address some of your the issues that you are concerned, and also provide the support university can support. As far as the question that Devin raised about institutional autonomy and also academic freedom, we believe both of them are very much core values of the university, and we uphold that very dearly. However, as you know that every of these freedoms comes with a responsibility as well. So we do respect our students, staff, respect the law, as well as follow the law. And of course, university do provide different manuals to show, for students to show their concerns and opinions as well. So I think it comes back to the question as far as the ideal situation. That will be where we have an environment that enables everybody to express their views and concerns. And also we respect each other. At the same time, that environment should enable the dialogue and conversations. And most importantly, during this process, we should hold the community as a whole, the best interest of the community. Thank you.
Well, Professor Zhang, then maybe allow me to ask a more philosophical questions. Because you have just mentioned that the ideal of such freedom is to enable everyone to express their own views. Well, what we can see is that other than students, we can frequently see outsiders coming to our campus to protest. So, such more philosophical question would be, Do you think freedom of speech in our university should only be enjoyed by people in Hong Kong U or by everyone in the society? And how would you interpret such freedom of speech, the relationship between freedom of speech and also our university?
And this is a terrific question, and I want to address the last part of it. As I already say that the freedom of speech and institutional autonomy is very important to the university's future, and we hold that very dearly. Now, in terms of the university and in respect to the outside community, and I do think actually we should listen to community members, whether inside of the university or outside of the university, give them a chance to express their concerns, and it is very natural. Okay? But at the same time, we do not want everybody try to dominate university management policy and so on. Therefore, that also answers the question, institution should have our own autonomy in terms of how we drive to be a world-class university. Thank you.
Well, I guess this is a good time to open the floor. So any students would like to ask some questions here, and our helper will give you a mic. Yeah, the guy in gray, please. Testing.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a year 3 student, and my question will be about the suspension of class on Monday. I assume the registrar was involved in the decision. So I would like to direct my question to Mr. Henry White. Of course, if any other parties would like to make a response, I would be grateful. I would like to ask is what took you so long to issue the notice of suspension given the situations on Monday? All of us will agree that it is not appropriate to have school on that day. So I would like to ask Mr. Henry White what took the SMT so long to make the decision. Because as you know, 1 minute later, more troubles will be caused to all the staff and the students of the university. Yeah.
I must apologize for sending the email quite late in the evening or during night. We had a lot of discussion about the Monday situation because it is not a normal practice to suspend classes when typhoon number 8 is lowered. But we would have to consider, and one of the considerations is the traffic. So until very late during the night, we received information from TV that MTR will not be able to resume normal service the next day. So that I think, and also we would like to see how the typhoon actually approaching Hong Kong, whether number 8 will still be halted on Monday or not. So we finally make a decision. We try our best to let students know, and we put on Facebook first and then email, because sending the big bulk email out, technically it also requires some time for the machine to send all the bulk emails out. But I think this decision was made after a lot of consideration for all factors. And I think if you feel we have sent this quite late, I apologize for that. I mean, we don't have any experience of this kind, and we will learn from this exercise. And Provost, Professor Paul Tam, is going to review the whole situation, so that I'm pretty sure we will do better next time.
Can I have one more follow-up question? I'd like to ask if the SMT had any discussion about the contingency plan after the typhoon, as I think all of us must agree that the typhoon would be one of the greatest typhoons in Hong Kong history. So I assume that it is very normal for the SMT to have some discussion about the contingency plan, and I'd like to ask if there was any. And one advice is, I think Facebook is not really an appropriate way to issue such a notice, and I think mass email and the portal notice would be more appropriate. Yeah, that's my advice, and I would like to please anyone of the SMT panel and answer my question. Thank you.
I have to take responsibility for that because I was acting president at that time. Also, a couple of members of SMT were outside Hong Kong. Nevertheless, we kept our discussion online So for some of us who were even outside Hong Kong, they were involved with the discussion about the preparation and the handling of the aftermath of the super typhoon. As the registrar has mentioned, we feel that there are areas that we can improve. This is an unprecedented situation. I hope that at the end of the day, that at least the outcome is that the students and staff have been given sufficient information for the Monday and then for the Tuesday arrangements. Again, even within society, there will be different views as to whether there can be one-size-fits-all policy. So I have to say that we feel that we've come through this reasonably well. We can do better, and I must here thank all those staff who stayed behind to keep the physical structure and infrastructure of the university ticking. I was very impressed with frontline staff. For example, those the security guards, the state people who are clearing trees that we take for granted, IT people who have kept the university communication channel open. They've been working very diligently behind the scenes. So again, we've already scheduled a meeting of the SMT on the review of how we've handled this whole situation, and hope that we will do better next time. Your advice will certainly be taken into consideration. Thank you very much.
And up, please, the lady in blue.
First, thank you very much for opening up this opportunity for interaction. So I'm a new affiliate PhD student in sociology, and I would like to ask, as an international university, which is globally known for its excellent research, how do you plan to attract more international PhD students?
Very good question. As I actually early time when I was appointed, I emphasize on the academic excellence. Of course, the teaching and learning is part of that. At the same time, the research scholarship are also the core of such an excellence. So graduate education is very, very important. Now, of course, we are competing with other world-class universities in Europe, in Asia, in America as well. So it is a very challenging task. In my view, actually, one of the core of such a competition and is the first-class or world-class faculty. And we really need to help our faculty to advance their scholarship and also recruit the best scholars from all over the world. And that is the key. You know, the student come by because somebody is famous, right? So that is very important. Secondly, and I do got some complaints from university graduate students where, you know, whether they're living quarters or, you know, studies or various of purchasing of chemicals for research and so on. Indeed, we have a lot to work. And my colleague actually here has been really working hard. And in my new presidency, I really put the graduate, you know, study very hard, in a very high position, because that's position our scholarship and academic excellence. So I want to listen to all of you, your desire, your inspiration, and also anything we can help. Now, I'm not promised to solve all the problems in 1 month or even half a year, because many problems are challenging. But I do think we need to address the recruiting of the best professors. That is also for teaching as well. Secondly, also we need to enhance our research infrastructure, facilities specifically. And I consider we are quite, you know, have a lot of work to do in that aspect, even compared with the peer institutions in the territory. Thank you.
Well, I guess this is a good opportunity for me. I would like to ask one more question following up on the internationalization part, because students are very much concerned about the development of Hong Kong U becoming a more internationalized university. Yet, I'd like to address back to the report just recently released by the Convocation Standing Committee about an online survey of Professor Zhang's work priority. And in the result showed that the members of the convocation think that teaming up with mainland universities and also higher international ranking were voted as two of the least important works. So what is your opinion about the result, Professor Zhang?
Well, first of all, indeed, actually, we met the convocation yesterday, and we are greatly appreciate our alumni. We have over 180,000 alumni across the world, and indeed, actually, I believe the email survey was conducted through 120,000 emails sent out, but returns less than 1%. Let me be very specific on that. So this 1%, of course, we still be very much value on this. People are taking time to fill out the form, but this, I have to emphasize, this is less than 1% of the return of the survey. We send it out. So on the other hand, I do believe actually the globalization or internationalization of the university is very important, because the world is becoming less distance. We are much more connected from Europe to Asia or America. Internationalization is not only just bring the geographic distance together, but also bring the diverse views and diverse cultures together. And we have also kept that in mind, that we want to, embrace different cultures and different histories of different part of the world, at the same time pursue the excellence. I'm sorry, actually, I was sick the last few days, and that's why Professor Paul Tang was very kind, actually, was an acting president during the typhoon time. But anyhow, let me get back to the internationalization. The survey actually talk about especially the engagement with mainland. I think second one was the fundraising, right? Was among the lowest of this 1% of the survey return. Now, let me actually explain to you, especially our young student here. As I mentioned, the world has become much more connected. And mainland China is part of the world as well. As you know that mainland China is emerging as the world's second economic power. And there's a rapid development in mainland China. Let me specifically talk about higher education there. It's actually tremendously improved over the last 20 years. And some of the universities like Tsinghua University, Peking University, already emerged as a top university in the world. So we have to realize those facts. At the same time, Hong Kong University, actually, especially in Hong Kong, we take the pride of where the connectors between the East and the West. And many overseas universities in Europe and in America view we're the gateway towards China. And because of that, I'm sure some of the students come to Hong Kong to study. Not only we have a very diverse culture, we are also English speaking, make their life much easier, especially from Europe or other countries who doesn't speak the same language as Chinese or So that is actually very important reason that Hong Kong is very viable, is to connect the West to China. But at the same time also, we helped China to connect to the outside as well. Now, don't get me wrong, because of China is emerging as a world power, at the same time their higher education is actually tremendously improved. They also have their own way to connect with the rest of the world. So before actually that, I think Hong Kong U can play a central role. We can really to be a bridge of the two cultures. At the same time, I want to emphasize, we are taking such a great advantage. We are rising up together with China in terms of higher education, So this is the opportunity we cannot miss. And I think it will be benefit to our students, our staff and the university in the long run. Thank you.
It is to me that Professor Zhang emphasized on the cooperation with other regions in the development of Hong Kong U, especially on the pathway to internationalization. So maybe Professor Zhang can tell us more on the recent cooperation or maybe future prospects on such cooperation.
Yeah, the internationalization is not just we talk about slogans and put the banners on, but also we need to do some substantial work. It's not easy task. And across the world, I mean, UK is doing that, American University is doing that, everybody's doing actually internationalization outreach. And for example, some of you know the University of Chicago already set up their business school not too far from here. And that is the statement how they are like thousands of miles away. In terms of international collaborations, that include part of China as well, because it's globalization. Let me use the words more specifically, globalization. And we already achieved a lot in terms of not only actually with mainland China, but also with the rest of the world. In fact, actually, I want to take this opportunity to make a correction of actually the media. Maybe for whatever honest reason, there was a misrepresentation. During my interview, some of the students wasn't in my session. I have 3 circles of actually a collaboration. Essentially 4 circles. North America, Europe, mainland China. In the center is the Hong Kong U. So there are 4 circles. Hong Kong U is in the center. There are North America, Europe, and mainland China. But somehow that presentation went to the media, become only 1 circle, and a lot of people emphasize that, oh, this new president only talk about outreach or collaboration with mainland China. And that is not true. Let me correct that for the record. Secondly, university has made tremendous of effort to increase the collaborations across all spectrums. Give you an example. Thanks to the hard work of Professor Zhang Kao and his staff, we recently established a new degree, undergraduate dual degree. Basically, student can get 2 degrees through the study at Hong Kong U and UC Berkeley, which is the school I came from. And this is very hard because UC Berkeley is one of the top universities in the world, and it is not easy to give that dual degree to other universities. And I think Professor Kao's team worked extremely hard and to secure that. Not only that, we also have a dual degree now with UCL, University of College of London, I believe with the Chicago, right? With the Columbia University in New York. And those are all top schools in the world. So I will let him to maybe elaborate a little bit more on the international outreach and collaborations.
Thank you. Give me time to drink some water. That's absolutely right. A lot of top universities around the world are positioning at the global stage. If you look at UCL, it calls itself London's Global University. If you look at UNSW, that's Australia's global university. So what does it mean to be a global university? There's been a lot of discussion, so allow me to share with you some of these agreed upon attributes. One is the quality and number of international research collaboration. 2 is diversity of the student and staff demographics. And 3 is the extent of students participating in international learning opportunities. And 4 is international reputation. And we are working really hard on all 4 fronts to live up to the phrase Asia's Global University. As the President has already mentioned, dual degree is only one of many activities that we're doing to push for the international learning opportunity for students. We also have, just so you know, last year we had almost 3,000 students going to mainland, a lot of them taking on visits, programs organized by different student groups, and almost 3,000 students also went on to international learning opportunities, volunteering work, experiential learning. To give you an idea, within 1 year, almost 25–30% of the entire undergraduate population went abroad and expand their horizons. So we're working hard to expand those programs going forward. And one other attribute I mentioned is international and mainland research collaboration. And there we have different kind of funding schemes to facilitate these type of research collaboration, also to help to bring more RPG and graduate students on this campus. We set up a strategic partnership just last year with the University of Toronto, and this is in addition to Chicago, Sydney, UCL, and King's College London. So we are moving and operating at a global stage. And one very important is internationalization at home, because it doesn't matter how much time the students go overseas or go to mainland, most of your time is spent on campus. So we want your campus experience to be equally fulfilling and diverse. So we have a variety of campus programs, again, some of it working with the student unions, like the Hong Kong U Low-In Thai Cultural Concourse, to bring Chinese-speaking community from all over the world together to share some of our common experiences. We also working with teaching and learning to extend our common core courses. And we're also reaching out to underserved communities through hackathons. We have a global challenge, local solutions, that a lot of students participate in. And lastly, we are also extending our visibility to areas around the world, including Africa. So we just recently launched a Hong Kong U Africa China initiative, reaching out to communities outside in the underserved community. So these are some of the examples that we're doing, and hopefully give you an idea that internationalization and mainland engagement is not monolithic, but very diverse and very colorful.
And I guess it's also a good time to open the floor. Maybe the gentleman in checker.
Hello, Mr. Zheng. As you mentioned, Hong Kong U is an international university. Do you think what kind of topic is allowed to discuss in HKU, or what kind of topic is not allowed to discuss here? Thank you.
As I mentioned before, university campus should actually allow the diverse views and diverse opinions. So, of course, every views expressed, every opinion expressed, also need to keep in mind that we also allow other people to express their views as well. So, in a sense that, as I mentioned before, the ideal actually environment is that we foster the environment has the freedom to express different views and things. But at the same time, we need to actually obey the law, and we shouldn't also have any speech or expressions that has a racist or other type of patriotism. So we need to keep those in mind, that we also should respect the law as well. And we hope that student staff will enjoy the very much of freedom in the campus, at the same time respect the law. Thank you.
The gentleman in checker. Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Dave McCree, St. John's College. My question is to follow up what was raised earlier, what we were discussing earlier about postgraduate students. Last year, I asked about the theft of the dissertations a couple of years ago, about 20,000 different dissertations, and how they were posted for sale. And then we discussed last year about the preventative measures that were put in place to keep that from happening again. What I'd like to know now is what is the university going to be doing to help those students who are most adversely affected by that? What punitive measures were taken against the individual? Why is there no communication from the university to postgraduate students about this? And ultimately, why should postgraduate students come to Hong Kong U if their work is going to be treated with such disregard, and they're in fact to be used more or less as cheap labor?
Thank you. I have to probably give my colleague to answer that question because I don't know the history of that. Happened last year before I take over the position, please.
Thank you for your continued interest. And as I was provost then and also provost now, I felt that it would be appropriate for me to address your issues. And thank you for your continued interest. In fact, interestingly enough, it was only a couple of weeks ago I wrote to our librarian, Peter Sodoko, whom you were aware had been in charge of the negotiations concerning this situation. And he has written back to me to conclude that he has reached what he would consider as the best case scenario with the perpetrator of whom you have been concerned about, and that this will not happen again. And so he was, I reminded him that it was important to close the chapter, so to speak, and maybe the closing of the chapter on this particular issue would involve also a public announcement of all the consequentials and also the future policies. So we will ask Peter to follow up with that with at least a circular to the stakeholders. Thank you.
The gentleman in black, T.
Hello, Professor Zhang. I have a follow-up question to the question raised by the guy next to me, behind me. So actually, I have a question about freedom of speech in the university because like the previous President and Vice-Chancellor, Professor Peter Matheson, was strongly criticized by signing the joint statement by the presidents of 10 universities, so which was regarded as a suppression to the debate, the freedom of debate of Hong Kong independence, and also freedom of speech in campus. So my question is, would you have signed the joint statement when you, if you were the president and vice chancellor back then, or why not? Thank you.
Well, first of all, I cannot put my time back to the time, but let me hypothetically answer that question. Yes, very simple. I think it is at the university's best interest. Let me read a statement regarding this issue. The University of Hong Kong is committed to the core principles of one country, two systems under the basic law. It expects its staff and students to obey the law and to be aware of their responsibilities and consequences of the actions. The university's senior management is opposed to the Hong Kong independence. While it fully respects academic freedom, it does not wish its campus to be a platform for political advocacy, and also campus become a politically divided. Thank you.
The person in dark gray, T. Thank you.
Thank you. It's also a question related to the previous President and Vice-Chancellor. So the previous Vice-Chancellor, Professor Matheson, alleged he received some advice and instructions from the, and I quote, advice and instructions from the Chinese Liaison Office. So I'm just wondering, Professor Zhang, if you have received, in a hypothetical situation, you received some advice and instructions from the Liaison Office, how would you treat it, or how would you view it? Yeah.
First of all, I cannot, speak for my predecessor because I wasn't here in the time. But I think actually university institutional autonomy is very important, as I already expressed. And we have our own actually judgment, thinking, and I think you will see our actions later on.
The person in blue shirt. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I would like to ask the question about freedom of speech again, as I think all of us know that your stance is very clear. And my question would be about talents of the university. Recently, with due respect, I've observed a phenomenon that the university cannot make the talents, make the great scholars stay in HKU, or is not treating the staff well. In particular, I would like to ask the case of Professor Jim Chi-yong. Do you think his performance is bad? And do you think he, First, the first case is Professor Jim Chi-yong, and another case is Professor Lai Ching-nung from the Lee Ka-shing Faculty of Medicine. The news reported that he wants a full-time professor title, and the university only gave him a part-time professor title. I want to ask, is there any margin of discretion can be given to such outstanding scholars? As I think all of us would agree that it is important for the university to treat the talents well in order to make them stay in HKU, and they are the intellectual property of the university. So I would like to ask maybe Professor Paul Tam, do you think in particular the two cases I've mentioned, do you think the university did the right decision? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me just talk about some principles. We don't comment on individual cases in public. We have never done that before, and we will not do that. I will only comment on principles and general observations. Indeed, Hong Kong is very fortunate. It has many outstanding professors, and Hong Kong should be glad that its staff, students want to stay in the university. It is a nice situation. Also want to say that many of our outstanding professors are private people. There are others who are perhaps more familiar and enjoy public limelight, but there are others who are very private. They should also be equally valued. As a principle, Hong Kong is committed to recruiting, nurturing, and retaining the best talents. We have a robust procedure. Reappointment looks at both the best use of university resources and individual merit. A responsible and visionary university makes the best use of its available resources for sustainable development, and a reasonable proportion of resources should be set aside to bring in new blood, new ideas, new practice. As far as merit is concerned, it's best assessed by academic peers when we come to academic achievements. And Hong Kong has a very robust system of peer assessment. The expectations of continued excellence also rises with each reappointment period. Now, roles of academics can change over time. It's not in a long career. I mean, I could cite many examples. Professor Rosie Young still serving the university in another capacity. So we welcome continued engagement of our staff and students. In fact, we always say that once a Hong Kong U person, you remain in the family forever. But whether we play the same role or not would be up to the consideration that I just mentioned. And I want to emphasize that any decision that's been made is made through a procedure that involves multiple tiered consideration at department, faculty, university central, and that there's and council in some cases. There's no room for favoritism or personal bias in the system. As to whether there's flexibility and so forth, of course we will try to incorporate as much flexibility as possible within the system. So that's what I can share with you on a broad principle basis.
Well, I'm not familiar with these cases because this was last, I would say before I came into the position. But I want to make an observation here that university has this 60 retirement for a long time. It's not a new thing, actually. So I want to just add that point. It's not something we are creating very recently. It has been university policy for many, many years.
I think students are quite concerned about the staying or leaving of the teaching staff regarding the 60 years old retirement policy. Because some of them regard this as a threat to Hong Kong U, that we are forced to not hire, or maybe some of the teaching staff will be forced to leave, and that Hong Kong cannot keep such star professors, or even consider as a threat to the university reputation in terms of teaching quality. So is there any room for changes? And also, I have a second question, is that why is such policy adapted to not only professor level teaching staff anymore, but to all staff?
The risk of So at the risk of repeating myself, the university has a known set of resources. So for the largest amount that will allow us for sustainable development comes from UGC. And you will be aware that at least as far as teaching is concerned, the student numbers have not changed over the years and are unlikely to change substantially over the years. Of course, we would argue for an increase in student places, whether it be for first degree or postgraduate degree funded by government, and we need your support in lobbying the government to invest more in the system. Until that comes along, we will have to be responsible and try to see within that big sum, what's the best way of allocating resources proportionately to senior people, the junior people and the middle ranking people. That there has to be a little bit of thought in that. It's not rigid, and it can vary from faculty to faculty, department to department. So as long as one has a robust system, and that the policy makers and the decision makers are given clear instructions, criteria to adhere, then we trust that the decisions will be for the long-term benefit of the university. As to individual staff management, there's always a little bit of personal touch, and sometimes that's not best discussed in public. Sometimes there are discussion on perhaps in changing practice. I just give you an example. I'm a keen football player. I used to play forward, and as I get older, I get further back in midfield, then in the back. I'm right-footed. I'm now a right back, and very soon I'll be staring down at the left back position, not playing on the left, but left back in the dressing room, not even coming on the bench. So I accept that with changing circumstances, one can still contribute in different way. So I think it's as long as we have a good system, we have a good discussion with our colleagues, I think we can end up with a win-win situation. So, but I'm grateful for your appreciation of your concern and interest in the matter, because that means that students do care about their teachers, and I'm very touched by that. Sometimes we criticize the younger generation as being perhaps more self-focused. I'm very touched by your thoughts about your teachers. And as a teacher myself, I'm truly appreciative, and I feel that's the greatest reward that we teachers can have these sort of students caring about us.
And moving forward, I guess Hong Kong U as an educational institution, I will have some more questions about the education development in the future of Hong Kong U. So Hong Kong U recently introduced a new degree called the Bachelor of Arts and Science lately, which features a very diverse curriculum that designed by all 10 faculties. So interdisciplinary seems to be the main goal of future Hong Kong U undergraduate education development. And I guess students would like to hear more from Professor Zhang and also the SMT about your vision on the undergraduate education in Hong Kong U, especially about the development towards interdisciplinary education.
So I will let my colleague, Professor Yan Holiday, will answer part of that. But before that, let me briefly mention that interdisciplinary education is very important. The future leader of this world, whether you are doing arts or business or engineering, is the one will be very successful that actually has a broader view. But at the same time, we emphasize the breadth of the knowledge. At the same time, I want to emphasize that we don't want to sacrifice the depth as well. So that presents, honestly speaking, it's a challenge for every institution, how we do that and what is the best way to do. So in my view, that as you increase the breadth, let's say you learn different disciplines and more, basically courses, you add a few more courses in coming core and so on. But at the same time, and we hope that in junior year or sophomore or senior year, and there are a couple of the depth courses, really students can spend time in capstone design or whether other type of, really show a depth in one discipline. And I think that is probably very important while we are emphasizing the breadth of the interdisciplinary, but at the same time, the depth. The other thing is actually, even the scientific discoveries today, because I'm from the science part, I'm sure that art and humanity will have a similar thing, is new things, new discoveries are always emerged from at the boundary of two disciplines, right? So those has numerous examples. For example, I was talking to my colleagues in social science, and they study how the sociology and how the society face the challenges in low income, crime, and very often include, Hong Kong. We have those problems. Every society has these problems. How we are going to address it? Well, traditionally, sociologists or social workers will survey and develop some suggestions for government policy and so on. And these are all good. We will continue doing that. But what about taking that as an interdisciplinary approach? That means that can we actually cross the boundary to other disciplines? For example, in America, there's a group of faculty where they are actually a group of social scientists and also computer scientists. These are one from engineering, one from sociology or social science. They join together, try to develop a new type of computer, which is opposite than today's computer developed in Intel or you name it. Everybody tries to get a computer faster, fancier, more functions, but at a higher cost. But they're looking opposite. Can you develop the computer? Has a very basic functions, not fancy at all, very basic, but yet very low cost. The cost is a barrier. Why they do that is because they want to actually look at the people at the bottom of the society where their income is low, they are in poverty, they cannot afford to have a computer. And this is called digital divide. Because of that, they cannot access internet and so on. So it's important to bring actually the people at the bottom really access, enjoy the internet, enjoy information flow in this world. So that is a process actually we really see the computer scientist, engineer work with the social scientist and really bring a solution to the society. So those are the great examples how the interdisciplinary studies or research can impact the society. But I will let Professor Holliday to give more introduction of education.
Thanks very much for the question. Just to supplement what the President has said, interdisciplinarity has been a core theme for teaching and learning for a long time now. We created the Common Core program a decade ago, and we introduced it fully in 2012 with the 334 transition. We made interdisciplinarity one of the 3+1 I's. So the whole institution, as the President said, is committed to interdisciplinarity in research, in teaching and learning, in everything that we do. We had the opportunity this year to bid for quota for the next triennium through the UGC for 2019-2022. And we decided to place at the heart of our bid in the planning exercise this BASC family of programs. We have 5 4-year programs and 1 senior year entry program. And what they try to do is to balance that breadth and depth that the President mentioned. So the BASC in FinTech will have a core pillar in FinTech, which is already itself interdisciplinary. It will also have a broader foundation drawing on some other disciplines that can give our students the opportunity not just to be technicians in FinTech, but to be leaders and to be setting the agenda for FinTech. And we have parallel programs in Design Plus, in Global Health and Development, in Applied Artificial Intelligence, and we have an even more broadly based BASC program which allows students to define their expertise through a second major. It will give them some arts, some science, some social science, and then by doing a second major in, say, chemistry or philosophy or sociology, they will gain that depth. And so this is really the philosophy behind the BASC programs. We think it's exciting. We hope you'll help us spread the word for all of the students who will be applying to Hong Kong U next year. Thank you.
The rest of the time will be open to the floor. So if you have any question, please raise your hand. Yes, the gentleman in black.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Vice-Chancellor. I'm the Chairman of University Affairs Committee to the HKUSU Union Council. Actually, we set up a board to collect members' opinions a few days ago, and from my will soon hand over it to you. And from my observation, I think that the media, why criticize you, just talk about your circle. You have mentioned you have 4 circles. So why the media only talk about China is that you are not regard these 4 circles equally. For example, you have concrete and big plan of the China. For example, when you are the candidate of the Vice-Chancellor and President, you have mentioned that you think that the opportunity of China is very big, and you want to receive assistance from the Ministry of Education of People's Republic of China. And when you talk about the global development and as well as the academic development, it seems that you are not have an equal level on this issue. So I want to ask 2 questions. First, can you tell us more about your development plan of receiving resources from the Ministry of Education of VRC? And secondly, will you deem that an equal level is important for you of these 4 circles? Thank you.
First of all, there are 4 circles. I have to use a long graphic description. 3 circles actually are identical. If you really want to talk about size, Europe, America, mainland China. Then in the middle is actually HKU. So that is exactly. Now, however, I appreciate you brought this issue, and this indeed, I'm sure in many students' mind, oh, this is a mainland-born UVC, and it's only talk about China, which is not true at all. Which I specifically, and again, the second correction to your quote from the media, and I think the media wasn't, accurate in that sense. In terms of the focus, I was talking about specifically European universities, 2 universities, and also a couple of universities in America. how we can engage them into a so-called world-class education and research arena. In fact, actually, I was just coming back, and that's part of the reason I was getting cold, to recruit a tenant from America, and also I engaged seeking the fundings from foundations from America as well. So that is not true, and I wasn't really, trying to emphasize one way or the other, but media twisted that way, which I have no way to control. But let me come back to that. There's nothing wrong to obtain funding from mainland China as well. Now, way before I arrived, I believe it's a few months ago, in the spring, and Hong Kong University, not only Hong Kong U, but also our neighbors, UST and Chinese U, already received research money. And if you talk about a graduate student, we are very grateful because these are the research fundings to support our physics, chemistry, and computer science to study the new advanced technology that transform our society. So it is already happened way before I arrived. But again, let me address that question. I don't think anything wrong, and if I can get, Korean government to support me, which I'll try actually to get the funding from Samsung. My former student now works there as a senior VP. So these are all possibilities. I'm not just bound to one, but anybody can support HKU mission, and we will be happy to look at it. Of course, we don't want the string attached and all of this, but I'm open.
Gentleman in black behind. Thank you.
So I'm a year 3 student studying Bachelor of Arts. So recently I've heard lots of your plans on how to develop science and technology subjects in different occasions. And also I know you are a specialist in science and technology. So when we ask how do you feel arts and humanities, you said it's equal importance. But to me, I don't really hear a lot of your concrete plans on how to develop arts and humanities in the University of Hong Kong. And I'm really afraid that Hong Kong U will, after commencement, will soon become a specialist in specializing in science and technology, and I don't really hope that it will become another University of Science and Technology. So I wish to ask, what's your concrete plans or what's your visions on developing arts and humanities in the University of Hong Kong?
Again, appreciate this question, very valuable, and in fact, you're not the first to ask, and I think it's a fair question. We should answer that. Let me catch your, again, last part of it. So actually, after this press conference, in 2:30 this afternoon, I will spend 4 hours in your art faculty, visiting, meeting with a lot of professors there and so on. And this is a part of the process. I'm not treating art specially. It just happened to be today. This is the process. Yesterday I was in business faculty, spent the whole afternoon. End of this week I will spend, so basically this week alone I will spend 3 afternoons in 3 different faculties. My plan actually is to finish the tour of each of the faculty. This is not just walk around, but I actually hold 1 hour 45 minutes, each with a senior professor, associate professor, assistant professor, and really to understand what is the teaching, learning, and so on, where is the problem, and how we can help in the top management to help the student accelerate their learning process or solve some problems. Again, so this is a part of the process I've been working to understand the university in detail, in very, very much. So far I've met probably a couple of hundreds, students, staff, and professors. Now, come back to the humanity. And it is easy to be viewed because my background was in science and engineering, and people could easily associate. And sometimes I use examples as well, so that maybe enhance that stereotype of anything I will do probably enhance that. But I look at the university as a holistic way. I was educated in a university that has a very strong humanity and arts. In fact, we have a club, like some of your club in the student union. We have a student from philosophy, arts, and so on. And I like to use the example. The philosophy student, my friend, actually, we haven't contact for 30 years. We missed contact. But suddenly I found out he owns the top 5 actually indoor robotics company in the world. And that is surprising because he's a philosophy major, I do. So that really shows you if you have a broad education and you think out of the box and really try different things, that you make yourself, your career successful. But then come back to more address that question. Of course, I don't have a concrete plan yet before I can finish all the faculty visit, and I will form more specific plans. But generally, I do believe the arts, humanities, social science are very important. The example actually, I give you how to bring the social science and engineers together is a great example. I had a lunch with a potential, donor yesterday, and try to look at the possibilities to establish how we can bring the humanity with actually natural science or engineering together. We look at the boundary, what are the new possibilities, especially address the societal problem, like the low income people at bottom ladder of the society really lives at the same quality of life. And so these are the areas I think humanity and arts can play a role tremendously. And I joked with our alumni convocation yesterday with the meeting yesterday morning. I say, indeed, that's probably my plan too. And I have actually a great idea to pursue art after my retirement. So depending on how long I will be an academic. But when I retire, I'm interested to bring a very specific art form and actually a chemistry together. So that is something I'm looking forward to. Thank you.
While other members of the SMT and university management would like to stay for a longer while and talk to students, Professor Zhang has to leave to attend another meeting ahead. So, per mentioned by the UAC chair, we have collected some students' opinion on board and would like to give it to Professor Zhang, and hopefully Professor Zhang will also address them later in this stage. And please allow me to present the voices of students to Professor Zhang. So the forum will continue, and if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Feel free and ask your questions. So other SMT and university management members would be really grateful to answer all your questions. So the forum, I guess it is best to end here, and other SMT members would like to go into a crowd and talk to students as well. So please stay and also tell your ideas and also opinions to them with your personal capacity. Thank you, and thank you for attending today.